I never imagined that one day my entire world would collapse because of an old, forgotten book. That evening, I was in the kitchen, mindlessly stirring a pot of soup when I heard my husband Daniel calling from the basement. His voice was sharp, urgent. "Emily, get down here now." I frowned, wiping my hands on a dish towel. Was there a leak? Had something fallen? I made my way down the creaking wooden steps, squinting under the harsh glare of the single light bulb. Daniel stood in the far corner, surrounded by half-opened boxes and scattered papers. In his hands, he held a book with a faded pink cover. That book. My old diary. A sharp, cold fear crawled up my spine. That better not be my diary, I thought, forcing out a chuckle. "What's all the fuss about?" I asked, pretending not to notice the rigid way he stood, his fingers clenched around the book like a vice. "You tell me," he said, voice dangerously low. "Is this yours?" I hesitated. "Daniel, that's just—" "Don't lie to me," he cut me off, flipping the pages with trembling hands. His face was pale, eyes blazing with something between anger and disgust. Then he began to read out loud. "I wish Daniel would propose already, but I'm tired of waiting. Alex is so much more exciting, and oh, the things he does to me." I felt my stomach drop. Alex. A name I hadn't spoken in years. Daniel turned the page, his voice shaking. I told myself it would be just once, but here I am again, and tonight I had 2 men in one day. God, the rush is intoxicating. But Daniel doesn't need to know, right? I sucked in a breath, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't just one stupid mistake buried in the past. This was everything. And he had just uncovered it all. His knuckles were white as he clenched the diary. "Tell me this isn't real," he whispered. I tried to reach for the book, but he yanked it away. "Daniel, please, shut up," he roared. "You wrote about cheating on me like it was a goddamn adventure. Do you have any idea what I'm feeling right now?" His nostrils flared as he flipped to another page, his voice thick with rage. "Daniel is so sweet, so trusting, but that night with Ryan, that was something else. He makes me feel alive in ways Daniel never could." I clenched my fists. "That was before we were married," I protested, his eyes blazed. "Oh, really?" He flipped another page. "Daniel was away on a business trip, so I let Caleb come over. I shouldn't have done it. But God, I miss feeling wanted." That one was after we were engaged. My breath hitched as the weight of it all suffocated me. "You wrote about screwing around while we were together." His voice was raw, betrayal woven into every syllable. "And I was just some idiot waiting for you at home." I swallowed, unable to speak. "How many?" His voice was eerily calm now. "What? How many men did you sleep with behind my back, Emily?" Silence. I could lie. I could try to downplay it. But what was the point? He had my words in his hands. 6, I whispered. His whole body shuddered. He pressed a hand over his mouth as though he might be sick. "Get out," he said. "Daniel, get out!" Word spread fast. By the time I reached my mother's house, my phone was already blowing up. Daniel told everyone at the bar what he found. "Did you really cheat on him with 6 guys?" "Emily, what the hell is going on?" I swallowed my rage. He was humiliating me. He was making me look like some disgraceful, unfaithful woman while playing the victim. And worst of all, my own daughter had found out. The next morning, I answered a call from her. "Mom?" Her voice was shaking. "Dad showed me the diary." I squeezed my eyes shut. "You lied to me. You lied to all of us," she sobbed. "You were cheating on Dad while you were with him, and now," she whispered. "I took a DNA test." My stomach dropped. "What?" I croaked. She took a shaky breath. "Dad isn't my biological father, is he?" My heart stopped beating. I sat on my childhood bed, my fingers digging into my temples as my daughter's voice echoed in my mind. "Dad isn't my biological father, is he?" The words sliced through me over and over. My throat was too dry to speak, my mind too numb to form a coherent thought. But deep down, I knew. I knew this moment was coming. I had spent years convincing myself that it didn't matter, that Daniel was the only father she had ever known, and that made him her real father. But DNA didn't care about feelings. DNA didn't lie. I gripped my phone tightly, pressing it against my ear. "Sweetheart, please, I need you to listen to me." "Listen to you?" She cut me off, her voice thick with rage and hurt. "Mom, this isn't some minor mistake. You lied to me my whole life. You let Dad believe I was his daughter, knowing damn well that there was a chance he wasn't." I winced at the truth in her words. I didn't know for sure," I tried to say, my voice breaking. "I always thought—" "Stop lying!" she screamed, her voice shattering whatever remained of my composure. "You knew there was a possibility, and you chose to never tell him." Tears welled in my eyes, spilling down my cheeks as I heard her breath hitch on the other end of the line. "You let him raise me. You let him love me. You let him be my dad, and now you've taken that away from him. And from me." I opened my mouth, desperate to say something. Anything that would undo the damage. But there was nothing. I heard a sniffle, and then her voice turned cold. "I don't think I can ever forgive you for this." And just like that, she hung up. The silence that followed was deafening. I stared at my phone, blinking through my blurred vision, feeling the walls of my life cave in on me one by one. I was losing everything. First Daniel, now my daughter, and soon I had a sinking feeling my son would be next. The next morning, I walked into the grocery store, head down, hoping, praying that nobody would notice me. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The stares, the whispers, the heavy weight of judgment hanging in the air like a storm cloud. I clenched my jaw, trying to ignore the hushed voices that followed me down every aisle. "Did you hear? Daniel's not even the real father of their daughter." God, imagine raising a child for years only to find out she was the product of an affair. I always knew she was bad news. Look at her acting like she's better than everyone else. I froze, my fingers clenched around the handle of my shopping cart as I realized exactly what had happened. Daniel hadn't just told our daughter the truth. He had told everyone. My stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't just divorce. This was war. And I was losing. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to keep moving. I wouldn't let them see me break. I reached for a carton of milk, trying to act normal, when a familiar voice rang out behind me. "Emily?" I turned too quickly, my heart slamming into my ribs. It was Sarah, one of my closest friends, or at least she used to be. She crossed her arms over her chest, staring at me with a look of utter disappointment. "Is it true?" she asked, voice quiet but sharp. "Did you really cheat on Daniel all those years ago and lie to him about your daughter?" The way she said lie made my skin crawl. "Sarah, My throat was too tight to speak. Her eyes darkened. "I defended you," she hissed. "When everyone in town was talking about you, I told them to mind their own damn business. But now, God, Emily, how could you do that to him? To your own daughter?" I swallowed the lump in my throat, fighting the urge to scream. It wasn't fair. Yes, I had made mistakes. But why was I the only one being crucified for them? Daniel was acting like some innocent saint. But had anyone stopped to ask how he had treated me over the years? Had anyone thought about the way he had slowly grown distant? Or how he had always prioritized work over me, making me feel unwanted for years? I wanted to say it. I wanted to shout to the whole store. But the truth was, none of it would matter to them. I was the villain, and Daniel? He was the victim. So instead of defending myself, I clenched my fists and walked away. I should have known Daniel wouldn't stop at just telling the town, but I never expected this. A few days later, I got a message from a mutual friend. "Have you seen Daniel's new girlfriend?" I blinked, staring at the screen. Girlfriend? It had only been a few weeks since he threw me out of our house. How the hell was he already seeing someone? Heart pounding, I clicked the attached picture, and when I saw her face, I nearly dropped my phone. Susanna, the ex-wife of Alex. The man I had cheated on Daniel with. A wave of nausea crashed over me as realization sank in. This wasn't love. This wasn't some random rebound. This was payback. Daniel wasn't just moving on. He was making sure I suffered. I stared at the photo, my hands trembling. Susanna was gorgeous, of course. The kind of woman that turned heads wherever she went. And now she was sitting beside Daniel, smiling like she had won the lottery. I clenched my jaw. She knew exactly what she was doing. And Daniel? He was sending me a message, loud and clear. I'm replacing you, and I want you to watch. A week later, I woke up to a knock on my parents' front door. Bleary-eyed, I shuffled to open it, only to freeze when I saw who was standing there. A lawyer. He handed me an envelope, his expression neutral. You've been served. I took the papers with numb fingers, barely able to breathe. I already knew what they were before I even opened them. Divorce papers, and attached, a motion for full custody of our son. I felt the ground disappear beneath me. Daniel wasn't just divorcing me, he was trying to erase me from his life completely. And worst of all, he had the whole damn town on his side. I clutched the papers, my chest heaving. No, I wasn't going to let him win that easily. If Daniel wanted war, he was going to get one. I stood there, gripping the divorce papers so tightly my nails nearly pierced through them. My heart hammered against my ribs, the weight of Daniel's revenge sinking in. He wasn't just divorcing me, he was gutting my life from the inside out. And the worst part? He was winning. I stormed inside, slamming the door behind me as my mother came rushing out of the kitchen, her apron still dusted with flour. Emily, what's wrong? I shoved the papers at her, my breathing ragged. He's trying to take our son. Her brows furrowed as she flipped through the documents, her lips pressing into a tight line. Oh, sweetheart. My father walked in from the living room, his expression already filled with the same silent disappointment I'd been seeing from everyone lately. I clenched my jaw. Don't. Don't what? His voice was calm, too calm. Don't look at me like that, I snapped, like I deserve this. He sighed, sitting down on the worn-out couch. Emily, I'm your father. I will always love you, but you made choices, and now you have to face the consequences. I stiffened. You think I haven't? My voice cracked. I've lost everything. My marriage, my daughter, my reputation. Your reputation? My mother scoffed. Honey, do you hear yourself? Daniel is the one who was lied to for years. He's the one whose world crumbled beneath him. And now you're acting like he's the villain because he's trying to move on. A bitter laugh escaped me. Move on? He's dating Susanna. He's rubbing it in my face. Mom sighed, sitting next to Dad. Wouldn't you want revenge if you were in his position? I didn't answer, because the truth was, I would. And that realization only made my rage burn hotter. I snatched the papers back from my mother's lap. Well, I'm not just going to sit here and let him take my son away from me. My father rubbed his temple. What do you plan to do? I swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't know yet, but I won't lose this fight. The next morning, I sat across from my lawyer, clutching a cup of coffee I had barely touched. Margaret Tate, a seasoned divorce attorney with years of experience, peered at me over her glasses as she read through Daniel's demands. Full custody, she murmured, flipping the pages. He's not playing around. No, I muttered, rubbing my temples. Can we fight it? Margaret sighed, setting the papers down. Emily, I won't lie to you. This isn't going to be easy. Your past, it doesn't make you look good. I scowled. That was years ago. Doesn't matter, she said, shaking her head. Daniel has already set the narrative. To the court, he's the loyal husband who was betrayed beyond belief. The town is backing him. If he brings in character witnesses, we're in trouble. Character witnesses. I could already picture Sarah, the so-called friends who abandoned me, and even my own daughter standing in court and testifying against me. My stomach turned. I gritted my teeth. So what do we do? Margaret leaned forward. We need leverage, something that makes Daniel look less like the devoted father and more like an unhinged ex-husband out for revenge. I thought about it. Then it hit me. Susanna. Margaret raised a brow. His new girlfriend? I nodded, a wicked smirk curling my lips. Yes, I need dirt on her. If I can prove she's not as clean as she looks, I can make Daniel's relationship seem questionable in court. Margaret studied me for a moment, then nodded. It's risky, but if you can find something on her, it might give us a fighting chance. A thrill of vindication surged through me. Daniel wanted to play dirty? Fine, let's see how he handles it when I fight back. I spent the next week digging into Susanna's past. Old social media posts, former co-workers, mutual friends. And then I hit gold. A bartender at a lounge she used to frequent spilled everything. You mean Susanna Hastings? He said, lighting a cigarette outside the club. Oh yeah, she used to be a regular here. Always with different men, always looking for trouble. My pulse quickened. Different men? He exhaled a cloud of smoke, smirking. Let's just say she wasn't exactly faithful to her ex-husband. I felt my heart slam against my ribs. Daniel had left me, humiliated me, and ruined my life over my past infidelities. And now he was dating a serial cheater. Oh, the irony. I leaned in. Would you be willing to testify in court about that? The bartender snorted. For the right price, I'd testify that she robbed a bank. I didn't need him to lie. I just needed the truth. And this was exactly the ammunition I needed. I grinned. Then let's make a deal. The next time I saw Daniel was in court. He looked as put together as ever, dressed in a crisp suit, his face calm and unreadable. But when the judge allowed me to present my witness and the bartender took the stand, his expression cracked. Susanna has a long history of infidelity, the bartender said confidently. She cheated on her ex multiple times, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's doing the same to Mr. Hayes. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Daniel's lawyer stood up immediately. Objection! Relevance? I turned to the judge, keeping my face impassive. Your Honor, this goes directly to the character of the person Mr. Hayes is bringing around our son. The judge narrowed his eyes. I'll allow it. Daniel's fists clenched on the table. He knew I'd landed my first blow, and from the look on his face, he never saw it coming. That night, I expected rage. I expected Daniel to call me screaming, but instead, he did something far worse. He stayed quiet, and I knew he was planning his next move. For the first time since the war between us began, Daniel didn't react. No angry phone calls, no public humiliation, no retaliatory legal filings. Nothing. And that scared me more than anything, because Daniel wasn't the kind of man to take a hit without hitting back twice as hard. I spent the next few days waiting on edge, expecting him to storm into my parents' house or send his lawyer with another set of devastating papers. But instead, he disappeared. No sightings at the grocery store, no updates from mutual friends. Even his social media went dark. And then, one night, I got a text from a blocked number. You started this. Now watch how I finish it. My blood ran cold. I didn't sleep that night. I knew Daniel too well. He wasn't bluffing, and whatever he was planning, it was going to destroy me. I didn't have to wait long to find out what he was up to. The next morning, my lawyer called, her voice shaky, which was never a good sign. Emily, Margaret started, you need to get to my office now. I felt the bottom of my stomach drop. What happened? She hesitated. Daniel just filed something new in the divorce case. I swallowed hard. What is it? Margaret took a deep breath. He's suing you for emotional damages. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. That's ridiculous. We're already getting divorced. But Margaret wasn't smiling. You don't understand, she said. He's claiming you manipulated him into raising a child that wasn't his intentionally. He's arguing that you knew the entire time, and that the emotional distress he suffered was deliberate fraud. My heart stopped. I felt like the walls of the room were closing in on me. Margaret kept talking, but I barely heard her. Something about damages in the hundreds of thousands. About how some judges took these cases very seriously. About how if Daniel won, I could be financially ruined for life. I finally forced out a whisper. Can he actually do this? Margaret exhaled. If he has proof that you suspected she wasn't his daughter and deliberately hid it from him, she hesitated, then, yes. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. Daniel was trying to end me. That night, I sat in my childhood bedroom, shaking. I had spent years pretending that my past wouldn't catch up to me, that as long as I never said it out loud, it would stay buried forever. But now, Daniel was digging it all up, and if I didn't fight back, he was going to leave me with nothing. I needed leverage, something bigger, something that would make Daniel back the hell off. And then it hit me. Susanna. I had used her once. I spent the next few days collecting evidence, and what I found was absolute gold. Bank statements showing Susanna had been taking money from her ex-husband even after their divorce. Messages from other women claiming she had been cheating on Daniel the entire time. Legal records proving that she had been arrested for fraud years ago, but had it sealed from public records. This wasn't just dirt. This was a nuclear bomb. So I did the one thing I knew would break Daniel completely. I sent all of it directly to him. I expected rage, but when Daniel finally called me, his voice was eerily calm. "You think this is going to stop me?" he murmured. A chill ran down my spine. "It should. She's lying to you. She's using you." Daniel let out a small chuckle. "You really don't get it, do you?" I frowned. "What the hell are you talking about? You think I didn't know?" My breath hitched. "You what?" "I knew Susanna wasn't loyal," he said flatly. "I knew she was using me for money, and guess what?" His voice hardened. "I didn't care." I staggered back, gripping the phone so tight my fingers ached. "Then why?" I whispered. "Because it's not about her," he said coldly. "It's about making you suffer." And just like that, he hung up. I sat there, shaking with fury. Daniel was willing to destroy his own life just to get revenge on me. I had underestimated him, but that was about to change. I had one last move, and it was going to end him. The next time we met in court, I was ready. My lawyer presented everything. The fraud, the cheating, the lies. And for the first time since this entire war began, Daniel looked nervous. The judge narrowed his eyes at him. "Mr. Hayes, given this evidence, I'm inclined to dismiss your claim for emotional damages." Daniel's face darkened. "And as for custody," the judge continued, "this court does not look favorably on vindictive parents." My heart soared as the judge turned to me. "Ms. Carter, you will retain joint custody of your son." I had won. And Daniel? For the first time, he had lost. Daniel left town after that. Just packed up and disappeared. No final words, no last threats. And me? I was left to pick up the pieces. My daughter still wouldn't speak to me. My son barely trusted me. But I had survived. And as I stood outside my parents' house, staring at the wreckage of my life, I knew one thing for sure. Daniel had tried to ruin me. But in the end, I was still standing, and that was my real revenge.